When Muslims meet, the tradition is to wish peace upon one another. This said, Assalamu alaikum, and welcome to the Canadian Islamic Center, Al Jam'iyya, here on the West Island.
Countless people across the globe incorporate religion in their daily lives, but in recent years, Islam has been in the spotlight.
We greet you today from inside a mosque where it is customary for women to wear the headscarf. Mosques, like churches, synagogues, or temples, are sacred places of worship. Millions of people across the world have embraced Islam and found happiness and peace, but understanding Islam through their eyes doesn't seem to happen often.
We begin our journey by going to the source of Islamic principles and guidance, to the Quran.
The year is 610. A man meditates alone, searching for the true meaning of life. Suddenly, Angel Gabriel appears and reveals to him the actual words of God. 23 years later, those revelations come to an end, and the Quran is complete. That man was Muhammad, and today the Quran is the most recited book on earth. But Islamic fundamentalists have often referred back to this holy book to justify acts of violence. Are they getting the message wrong?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
Referring to the Quran, it instructs Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. It says, don't you obey the rejectors of faith and make jihad against them with the Quran. When people think of jihad always in terms of violence and war and swords, how in the world could the Quran describe itself as a tool of jihad? You get a hard copy of the Quran and hit somebody on the head? We know that the Quran does not shoot bullets, emit missiles, or drop bombs or daisy cutters. What does it mean to make jihad with the Quran? To make jihad with the truth contained in the Quran.
In the name of God, the Beneficent, the Merciful. Praise be to Allah, Cherisher and Sustainer of the worlds. Those are the opening verses of the Quran. But how to read, understand, and interpret the sacred text? What to make of the verses that describe violence, even seemingly command it?
There is an order in the Quran itself, and the order is about everything in this life, including the Quran. The order is وَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلَ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. You have to ask the people of knowledge if you don't know.
Yet, extremists have used verses from the Quran to justify acts of violence. And critics have time and time again pointed to verses from this book to accuse Islam of being a violent religion. According to this prominent Islamic scholar, giving any sacred text a superficial examination breeds misunderstanding and confusion.
Have you heard the term cut and paste? And if you use the cut and paste approach, you can prove anything you want from any scripture you want. There are numerous common errors we hear around these days by those who are preaching hate and inciting people against Islam and Muslims by trying to trace the violence or tragic events to the text of the Quran itself.
While the Quran is the #1 source of guidance for Muslims, Islamic scholars agree that it cannot be properly understood on its own. For centuries, they have been respecting rigorous rules and guidelines to draw the appropriate conclusions from the holy book.
Look to the ayah to read it into context, 1. 2, to consider whatever revealed about that subject in the Quran. 3, to consider the reason and time and circumstances of the revelation. 4,
and so on and so
look
forth.
in the sayings and
Sheikh Al-Taib explains that not all Muslims study the Quran as they should.
I will tell the truth. Muslim majority, they don't read Quran. They don't understand it. Muslims do not do their job to deal with the Quran the way they should and to apply Quran in their life the way they should.
But the media, he says, make things appear worse than they are.
To blame Islam for what is done by Muslims, that is, they do that purposely.
Al-Taib added that Muslim fanatics constitute less than 1% of the 1.3 billion Muslims worldwide, In the West, devout Muslims have access to sound education and are free to draw their own conclusions. When you think of the Quran, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
It's flawless. It's sent by God.
According to Fawaz, the Quran is God's final message to humanity, a message of peace.
The Quran is not meant to be in any way violent or to commit terrorist attacks or anything of that sort.
So how does she understand what the average reader could easily misinterpret? Fighting is prescribed for you and you dislike it, but it is possible that you dislike a thing which is good for you, and that you love a thing which is bad for you, but Allah knows and you know not.
Okay, can you also read the one before?
Sure.
Because often, unfortunately, one verse can be interpreted in a way because it's taken out of context, even though...
Fawaz's understanding of the Quran's message goes beyond the individual verses it contains and into a bigger picture.
Not everybody studies the history of Islam, and that's a big minus, because in the history of Islam you can see the different ways the Prophet used to do things. And this is how we should be, as Muslims, we should be doing things.
The Quran remains Fawaz's ultimate source of guidance, teaching her, she said, to serve God and all of humanity. For Concordia Reports, I'm Corey Rapkin.
All Muslims share the same fundamental beliefs and values, but within the religion there are factions who follow slightly different guidelines. It's estimated that about 85% of Muslims are Sunnis. Shiites make up the remaining 15%. The division stems from historical political differences about who should have succeeded Muhammad as the spiritual leader of Islam when he died. The first 4 leaders voted in by majority rule are considered rightly guided caliphs, or truly following the Prophet's ways. Shia Muslims, on the other hand, believe Muhammad intended his cousin and 4th Caliph Ali to be his immediate successor, and that leadership should have continued to follow Muhammad's bloodline. Because of the divisions, Muslim factions may follow slightly different hadiths, teachings of the Prophet's ways. For example, prayer customs may be different, and not all religious sites are holy to all Muslims. But overall, the differences are minimal compared to the similarities.
I think they're big on prayers.
Very religious. So in terms of prayers and whatever they do is very structured.
Something that's like higher than anything that could be associated to evil or anything like that.
The negativity that you kind of see on the media, all of this, like, it's almost like religion of the wars with me, like Islam versus Christianity, and Islam's always made out to look like it's the bad religion.
Religion and a sense of family and community.
Most people spend their lives looking for the one, but what if someone else looked for you? Stephanie Sergiotis looks at arranged marriages and speaks to one Muslim couple who decided they would tie the knot after knowing each other for only 2 weeks.
Those 2 weeks gave us enough, gave us enough confidence to move forward. We realized that, you know what, you don't need to know each and every single thing about a person before you decide that you want to marry them. You don't need to know what their favorite color is or what their favorite food is. I mean, these things are not important. You have a lifetime to figure those things out and to get to know them like deeply and, you know, on another level.
Arranged marriages are often misinterpreted as a product of religion, but they're really based on culture and family values. Mariam Hassani's father met Rafi Jafari in Dubai and thought he'd make a good son-in-law.
But then by then it would be like 60 days to the wedding, not like 5. It's very family oriented. It's not like, for example, in, let's say, North American culture where 2 people start dating, it's their decision and solely theirs. What makes this really different and what I think is really nice is that it's not a union of 2 people, it's a union of 2 families.
Miriam's parents made it clear she had the option to choose the man she would marry, but she was always comfortable with the idea of having an arranged marriage.
I know in such conversation, she came back and she said, I understand that once I'm ready to get married, I have to talk to you people and I have to tell you people. And I also understand that you would like to get me married with a Muslim boy and probably of the same faith as you are and all that. So Maryam, being as Maryam, very smart, she knew all that thing, that what are the wishes of the family or the parent in that.
He can't see.
The Hassanis believe that this union of two families should be guided by the parents.
It helps, like the daughters, like they're still young and they're not that mature, to make their choices. So it's like a help. It's like a tool, like which she gets the support from the family that, okay, we also think, like he's a nice boy, you look at him this way. So, and the family is good, like we do our own homework and then tell her, so to make things more easy because it's a big decision.
Both families base their decision on a number of criteria, such as religion, family background, and education.
The reason that was so important to us was because we were both sort of out of respect for our parents, that I knew that the only thing that would make my parents happy, truly happy, and the only thing they would be, they would agree to is me marrying somebody who fulfilled this criteria. And the same thing goes for her. That she knew that the only thing, there's no sort of compromise on it. There's no like, okay, well, he's the same culture but not the same religion. Okay, he's this and that. No, it has to all add up.
We have a lot of pasta, actually.
But when it comes to arranged marriages, when and where does love fit in?
We in love with each other when we decided to go and tell our parents and have our parents talk. I think we sort of saw the potential in, obviously, I knew I was going to fall in love with him. He knew he was going to be in love with me, at the time, because we'd gotten to know each other, we were just starting to get to know each other. I don't know, I can't really say whether or not we were madly in love with each other. And we are just working backwards. We were, how dating, you get to know each other and then you go through like years together and then you take this like big step. We're working our way back. So it's not like we aren't going to go through the same phases that any two people go through in a relationship, but we're just going to take them at different times.
Even though arranged marriages might seem like a custom of the past, Rafi believes that this tradition is here to stay.
You're going to see a rise in arranged marriages because people will start realizing that in today's day and age with so much going on and so much focus on career and just the rate at which the world is growing and the rapid pace of life everywhere, arranged marriages are actually a very convenient and sort of easy option. It takes a lot of pressure off and allows you to focus on other things in life.
For Concordia Reports, I'm Stephanie Tsirjotis.
The positions of Muslims towards Jesus, peace be upon him.
Women are being oppressed, and this hijab is a symbol of oppression.
The fact that people consider Muslim people as, a second class.
All the women that wear hijab are being forced by a male figure in their life.
Is the women's role in Islam, and the woman specifically that covers herself.
It is a religion that preaches hate.
The concept of monotheism.
Once a year, Concordia's Muslim Student Association hold an Islamic Awareness Day. The goal? To inform and educate.
Considering our political climate today, where most of people get their knowledge of Islam through, TV and whatnot, through the news, it's really important that we can show the people what Muslims are really like and what we really truly believe in, the fundamentals of Islam.
is that people see, I guess, Muslims as being so connected with the Arab faith community, if you want, and that they view Islam as being only an Arab religion.
The media portrays it to be this way, and people are too ignorant to actually go and find out what Islam is about.
It's due to ignorance.
It's just general ignorance.
The way that Islam is portrayed in the media.
The way that the media and society pushes the image of a woman, that basically, you know, the less clothes she wears, the more she's free.
There is obviously more to Islam than praying 5 times a day. For devout Muslims, Islam is a way of life. This is how one Muslim man understands and practices his faith in his day-to-day life.
Islam is a peaceful, lovable religion if you truly understand it. I do sincerely believe that God, Allah, is the one who controls everything we do. There's no God but Allah. I do consider myself to be 110% practicing Muslim and religious, Orthodox. This means basically that I fulfill the necessary requirements of a believer, of a Muslim, which means I pray 5 times a day. I fast during the holy month of Ramadan. I pay my zakat, my yearly taxes to the community, to the poor people. I contribute a lot to the community at large. And this is actually what's taught in the Quran and the Sunnah, you know, to think of others before you think of yourself. So when I'm in the MSA, I don't only help the Muslim students on campus, but I do my best to spread the message, regardless of the individual, if they accept it or not. God tells us to ud'u ila sabili rabbik, you know, convey the message to the people with wisdom and understanding. There's no force in making someone believe in what you believe. If that was the case, God himself states that he would have done so, but he didn't. I was born in Somalia and raised in Canada. I also have a personal attachment to my country, because that's where my culture, my family still there. It's my 2nd year in civil engineering. Civil engineering because my country was in a civil war for 16 years, and the infrastructure is all like gone. The buildings and everything, the roads are like horrible. So when I graduate and I gain experience here, I do intend to go back and contribute to my community there. Somalia is 99.9% Muslims. They follow one school of thought, and which means we have 4 schools of thoughts. It's just different interpretations of the Prophet's tradition and so on. And all of them are correct. And the difference arises because of the different locations that scholars lived. So if someone lived, say, here in North America, his interpretation would be based on the environment surrounding him. Whereas someone who's in Africa, his interpretation will be based on the African context. I don't think whatsoever that Islam will explains that a female should only be confined to the household, or she should be treated different from the men. This is mostly culture, as we see in Saudi Arabia. Women can't drive. We see in the Asian continents that women are treated differently, and so on. My best interest is politics, whether it's Canadian politics or African politics or Middle Eastern politics. I would love for me to study that at the moment, but because of the situation my country is in, I need to study engineering first, and then when I establish my contribution or give back to my country, Somalia, and then I'm going to hopefully pursue a career in politics. Basically, I'm actually putting my community before my personal interest. Because we are taught, the Prophet says, to love for your brother what you love for yourself. And for me, I would love for my country to prosper. I would love for my community here in North America to grow and develop collectively together, whether you're a Jew or a Christian or a Muslim, for everyone to grow up together.
In Arabic, halal refers to any action acceptable to Muslims, but in English, the word is often associated with meat. Animals killed to produce halal meat must be slaughtered in a very specific way. Certain slaughterhouses accommodate the ritual several times a week. Because pork is forbidden to Muslims, the slaughterhouse must not be used in pig slaughter for fear of contamination. The animal must also be a herbivore, alive and healthy to be considered halal. Before each animal is killed, it must be pointed towards Mecca and blessed in the name of Allah by a Muslim. The killing itself is performed with a non-serrated blade, cutting the animal's jugular and arteries on both sides while leaving the spinal cord intact. The animal's blood must be drained out of the body. Both kosher and halal meat slaughter is exempt from Canadian law, saying the animal must be rendered unconscious by electrocution before killing it. Electrocuting an animal's brain affects the nervous system in a way that leaves blood in the meat. Some animal rights groups say the halal procedure causes the animals more suffering, but the scientific evidence is unclear. That's it for our show today. Thank you for joining us on our brief encounter with Islam. Although we could only scratch the surface today, I hope that you learned something new.
If you're still curious or want to know more, feel free to read up or speak to a Muslim or two. Who knows, they'll have something new to teach you as well.
Or visit your local mosque. Just remember to take your shoes off on the way in.
Assalamu alaikum.